Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Well, it has been 4 years since I got this thing. This is the High-Tech Diamond All You Need 8-inch flat lap. And over this time, I've worked with it a lot, and I've came up with some good ideas, some bad ideas, some kind of maybe half-baked ideas, and I want to share them with you. As you saw in the thumbnail and the title, well, I came up with my own magnetic laps that deletes the nut from here. And well, to say the least, I don't think it's a very good idea. And we'll jump right into it because the whole concept of an 8-inch lap, I think, is the maximum. And using 50% of it is about all you should probably hope to get out of it. Before we get into the magnetic lap, this is probably how you know this machine. So we have our, we'll get my little water hose out of the way. We just have a little thumb stud nut. We have a lamp. We have an arbor adapter, and this is a direct drive machine where there's a motor in the housing down below. You put this guy on, and you would thread it on. I think an important factor here to talk about is the surface feet, because although you might spin this at 1700 RPM, the number of diamonds going under a rock on the inside is less than the outside. I mean, you can see right here, okay, if we just turn this a quarter, right, well, this portion of the disc is now over here, and this portion is just right there. So the surface feet matter, and that it's a problem when coming up with a magnetic solution, because the concept of getting more space out of your lap makes a lot of sense. However, you know, even something like that you might fit on it that is larger, and technically you can do, you're getting more diamonds going under the outside portion than the inside portion. And adding a little bit more space can potentially be nice, but we're going to run into some other problems polishing. So let me introduce to you the magnetic lap solutions that I've came up with, and well, some of the ones that don't work very well. Depending on when you purchased your lap, you'll have one of two arbor adapters. There's this one, which is the old one. I drilled these two holes up here, and so don't mind those too much, but we have this old one, and then they actually have a newer arbor adapter, this style, which is significantly, well, it's significantly beefier, milled out of aluminum. For the first magnetic lap, let's talk about this guy. This guy has this little piece of plastic which acts as a little guard over the base where the arbor from the motor comes through the plastic housing of the machine. We're going to set this aside for right now. We're going to focus on this. Now, my first kind of step into building out a magnetic lap was with this. This is an aluminum master lap, and you can see we have those holes, and that just kind of goes right in there, and that would bolt in place. I drilled and tapped those two holes there on the side so that we can thread in some socket screws, socket cap bolts, I mean. What you're seeing here, though, is I milled into this a little pocket, and then I epoxied in, rare earth magnets, 8 rare earth magnets, so that you can take a disc, a no-hole lap, and slap that on there. And well, that certainly works. Don't mind the backing here, but you can kind of see how this would function. You put your bolts in here, and there we go. We have a magnetic lap with a way of attaching, okay? And it does technically work. However, you can spin this fast enough to let the lap take off, just like this. Oh man, to not have that nut in the way. Oh! Oh my gosh. All right. What happened? Whew. Maybe it's plan B? Well, that's a little bit of a startling thing to experience. And that's when I decided, well, I should figure out what speeds I'm really running this at and what it can be rated up to. So I took my digital laser tachometer and I measured the speeds of my flat lap. And these are the speeds that I got for this. And there is a variation between what they say in the manual for the machine and what I have on my machine. I'm not exactly sure why. I trust my tachometer, and this method of holding a lap on an electroplated metal lap works up till 1700 RPM. Once you start spinning faster, the disc can just get off a little bit. It can just get off a little bit, and then it goes away. So 1700 is where that lies. Well, I wanted to try something else. I wanted to try a soft resin disc. And how would that function? So here I have a soft resin disc with a self-adhesive magnet. And, well, that immediately went away. There's not enough adhesion to it. Since I drilled holes all the way through that have my back plate bolted on, well, you know, there we go. I can flip it around. With that flipped around now, I can have a sheet of magnet up here, and I can slap that on, and you can actually find where the poles of the magnet will grab really tightly. Okay? They will kind of almost snap when you find it. There, right there. So, this does also work. And this is another one where, you know, 1200 to 1700 RPM is safe. It's not going to fly off. Beyond that, you can definitely get it to fly off. So this is clearly a concept that works. It's definitely not practical to be building something around the old hub design and something that needs, you know, very precise holes drilled and threads tapped and all of that. That's not really a great concept, especially since now they've switched and they're using this style of arbor adapter. Well, there's no big flange to drill and tap through. So that's where this comes in. Here's another magnetic, or another aluminum master lap, drilled and tapped with a 1/4-20 large set screw, and that threads on there just like that. And we have our self-adhesive magnet there, and we can find our pole on here, if you will, wherever that is, wherever it snaps in place. Just like that. And that will stay on there. The electroplated disc stays on there even better because it's metal. This does totally work as a concept, and it doesn't really require a whole lot because, you know, you're only doing a single hole, and there's just it's easier, and it uses the modern arbor. Well, just because you can do something doesn't make it a good idea. Right now I have the modern arbor adapter with the thread and easy attach kind of system here. The next problem that we come up to with this is, well, you got to get water right in the middle of the disc. It's not like you can polish up something that's 8 inches across, because how are you getting water on the lap? So if you wanted to take something really big, even if it fits on the lap, you're not able to get water to the inside. So that's just kind of a no-go. So you didn't really pick up a whole lot of extra space with this kind of complex method and of, switching your laps over and all of that. But there's still a way that you can gain a little bit of extra space, and it has nothing to do with the laps. We're back to the normal one with the thumb stud. This is where there is an upgrade that you 100% should do, and you can just do it at home, cheap and easy. We get rid of the original cowling, okay? And we replace that cowling with a nice, soft, easy to make, easy to clean, flexible cowling. And now, technically you do have extra room. You spent almost nothing on this. You can get really creative. This is made out of a thin piece of rubber mat glued together. And while technically, look, you can put a much larger rock on here. You can still get water to the middle. It does hang off, which is a downside. You are going to have to kind of be doing the whole flipping the thing around back and forth, which also presents its own kinds of problems with how something wears in and the swirls that get cut in. Generally on a lap, you want to just, go one direction. You want to kind of like move it back and forth. This also helps in that when you do larger pieces, even let's say you don't want to do anything this large. Maybe let's just say that is too much for you. You just want to do something a little bit bigger, right? Something that kind of takes up a nice chunky little bit on the actual lap. Well, more water is better. More water means that water leaves, it goes away. Having this little taller and bigger cowl around it, it feels open, right? It feels open when you're using it, and this is definitely an upgrade that you should make. However, this thing here is not without good use. We're gonna save this because there's a time to use this and there's a time to use the other one. I didn't come up with this. This is kind of my own version. What we have here, okay, is we have a fence for this. We have an aluminum fence that you can now add to the lap, and you can get perfect 90-degree angles. Currently, I'm still just kind of using some clamps on this because it's still an idea that I'm working with and coming up with. And I'm not putting these on tight. This is really just a way to kind of like secure it, so as you push up against it, it will not really, it won't move at all. It just kind of wants to stay nice and in place. The lap still turns just fine. We clear it, okay? We have a nice little like 1/16 of an inch gap there, which is perfect. So a stone can be very nice and supported up against it. Now that we have a fixed 90-degree fence, there's a lot of additional things that I'm trying to think through as a way of adding to it. An example of this would be any type of intarsia work where you can now get perfect 90-degree fitments between two stones. Well, if we take a piece like this, like a piece like that, that is now a 45, we can add another piece here, and now we have a piece down here which we can get a perfect 45-degree angle. Yeah, we don't have a ton of space to work with, but it's an option for maybe like some type of back bezel. There's a number of different ways and means of attaching things now, and depending on what you're doing, it could be on this side of the nut, or it could be on the other side of the nut. Now we start to get into some of the practical limitations of this machine. We have a relatively small, compact, and affordable machine with a relatively small motor on the inside of this housing that is direct drive. The real way to build a magnetic lap, if you want to do this, is going to be with a motor. I don't even know how you'd say it. You want a motor out here. You want an arbor and bearings on the inside, so that when you're pushing down on this, you're not pushing down on the motor. And then you can put whatever motor you want on. You want a 1/2 horsepower motor? That's great. And then run a steel disc. An 8-inch steel disc where anything that's magnetic will stick right down to that guy and you ain't gonna have any problems. I think we're at the limit of what this can do, and it's kind of with the initial design concept. And really, There's a reason why almost all flat laps stop at that 6 and 8 inch. Things get complex the bigger and bigger we go. What do you want? Do you want, you're only going to have so much surface feet per second if you're spinning at 1700 RPM. So as an example, let's pretend for a minute that we have an 18-inch lapping disc here, okay? And it's spinning at 1700 RPM. The inside is going 1700 RPM, just spinning in place. This out here is whipping around. We have many more diamonds per going under the stone, depending on where you're at, okay? There's a reason why there's not giant laps like this, and we go towards vibratory and oscillating lap designs. It just, how to say this? Yeah, you're gonna end up having to slow your motor down a lot, and a good example of that is the carpet wheel. Let's turn around and we're gonna look at the carpet wheel real quick, which is a 12-inch wheel that spins slow, and in the process, well, there's some interesting things that happen that you don't typically see exaggerated on other machines the way you do on the carpet wheel. If you haven't seen the carpet wheel, you're missing out. But, and there are plans on the website, currently rockhounding.com, for free that you can go get and make it yourself. But just imagine this is a lap, okay? We have our motor, we have a little tiny pulley down there, and then we have this big 12-inch poly nylon reinforced pulley, and that reduces the actual RPM of the carpet wheel down to about like 250 or so. So when we flip it on, hold on. When we flip it on, spinning, the number of RPM there is 250. It's also right there, except the amount of carpet traveling is far greater there than it is there. And because of that, because of this great reduction, we get a lot of torque. There is no way you're stopping this, okay? There's just no way. It is a beast, and well, that. As opposed to something spinning farther and farther away, or, well, that little motor on the high-tech, with a steel plate, because this is a steel plate, that's a 12-inch steel plate under there, you could stop it. You have too much weight for that little motor. You need a real motor and possibly gear reduction to get your surface feet down to where you want to use it. Unless something big changes, I'm going to say a magnetic lap on the high-tech is just a no-go for all of the reasons discussed here. However, as far as upgrades go, making yourself kind of a bigger fence is smart. It can come in handy when you're working on some of those larger stones. And the fence, well, I'm loving the fence because as I start to dabble in Intarsia, it's nice to have a nice fixed reference point where you can get that perfect 90-degree angle. Well, hope you guys like this. Good luck in all of your lapidary adventures. Let me know what you thought here. Did I get it totally wrong with the magnetic laps? I've been spending an excessive amount of time on it. I don't think I have it wrong. Maybe somebody will come up with a better design, but this machine, that motor, nah. Maybe a different thing, a dedicated machine, be different, but still then you're limited. You start to limit yourself. Well, y'all take care. Go check out the website, currently rockhounding.com, and I will catch you in the next video.